Throughout the tapestry of ancient philosophy, there exists a recurring, though often implicit, idea of an elite, an exceptional minority of individuals, distinguished not by wealth or birth, but by wisdom, virtue, and a profound understanding of life's deeper truths. This is not the modern economic 1%, but a more timeless archetype, the rare human being who ascends beyond the ordinary constraints of desire, fear, ignorance, and material ambition. In Plato's Republic, this concept is perhaps most clearly articulated through the figure of the philosopher-king, a ruler who does not covet power, but who leads because of his access to true knowledge. According to Plato, society should be ruled by those who have transcended the shadows of the cave and gazed upon the realm of forms, the eternal truths. This individual, by virtue of education, discipline, and inner transformation, possesses the clarity and justice necessary to guide the rest of humanity. Only a tiny fraction of the population could ever reach such a state of intellectual and moral refinement. This is echoed in the teachings of the Stoics, who idealize the Stoic sage, an archetype of inner freedom and virtue, a person who, through rigorous training and philosophical insight, lives in harmony with nature and remains undisturbed by external circumstances. The sage is not swayed by fortune or misfortune, pleasure or pain, approval or criticism. While all are capable of striving toward this ideal, only a minuscule number of individuals actually attain it, making the sage a member of an elite class, not defined by social hierarchy, but by an extraordinary level of self-mastery and spiritual freedom. This concept is not limited to the Western philosophical canon. In the contemplative traditions of the East, particularly in Buddhism and Hinduism, we find analogous ideas of a spiritual elite. These are individuals who, through renunciation, meditation, and a relentless pursuit of truth, come to perceive reality with a clarity that most never attain. In Buddhism, the noble ones, or Aryas, are those who have comprehended the Four Noble Truths and begun to liberate themselves from the cycle of samsara. They are distinguished not by external accomplishments, but by their internal realization of non-self, impermanence, and the cessation of suffering. Similarly, in the Hindu tradition, the Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated while still living, represents a pinnacle of human achievement. These rare beings have dissolved the ego, transcended karma, and reside in a state of unity with the Absolute. Their actions are not born of desire, but of pure wisdom and compassion. Again, though the path is open to all, only a few persevere with the intensity and purity required to reach this state. These individuals are the philosophical or spiritual equivalents of the 1%, those who achieve the highest human potential. The ancient Chinese philosophers also conceived of a class of extraordinary individuals. In Confucianism, the Junzi, or superior man, is one who cultivates virtue, propriety, and moral rectitude to an exceptional degree. The Junzi is not born noble but becomes so through effort and ethical commitment. This idea of earned nobility reflects a deep respect for the capacity of the individual to rise above base instincts and societal mediocrity. Taoism offers a different, yet equally compelling, vision of the enlightened few. The Taoist sage is one who lives in accordance with the Tao, the natural way of the universe. By relinquishing control, ego, and desire, the Taoist sage flows effortlessly with the rhythms of life, achieving harmony and profound insight. Again, this state is rarely attained, marking those who reach it as part of a spiritual elite. In all these traditions, from east to west, there is a recurring motif: the few who break through the illusions that ensnare the many, and who live from a deeper, truer center of being. What is fascinating about these ancient visions of an elite is that they are meritocratic in a profound sense. Unlike modern economic or political elites, who may inherit their status or gain it through manipulation, the philosophical elites of antiquity must earn their place through inner transformation. Their power lies not in external control, but in the force of character, clarity of vision, and alignment with universal principles. This inversion of power, from domination to virtue, offers a radically different model of human excellence. It also implies that the masses, while not inherently incapable, are often too distracted, conditioned, or afraid to undertake the rigorous journey inward. The path to becoming one of the 1% in this ancient sense is arduous, requiring solitude, study, suffering, and sacrifice. But those who walk it find a freedom and fulfillment that elude even the most materially successful members of society. This distinction between the many and the few was not only philosophical but also political in ancient thought. In Aristotle's Politics, the best form of government is one ruled by the virtuous, a polity where those most capable of reason and justice hold sway. Aristotle distinguishes between different forms of government, preferring aristocracy, rule by the best, over democracy, rule by the many, which he feared could devolve into mob rule. Yet even Aristotle acknowledged that true virtue is rare, and thus the best societies must be structured to nurture and reward the development of character. This underscores the ancient belief that only a small fraction of the population will ever reach the heights of moral and intellectual excellence required to lead wisely. Cicero, echoing these sentiments, argued for a republic led by men of integrity and wisdom, guardians of the common good who resist the temptations of personal gain. These were not hereditary aristocrats, but moral exemplars, men whose inner wealth made them worthy of guiding others. In the later Neoplatonic tradition, this idea of a philosophical elite was further developed. Plotinus, the great Neoplatonist, described the ascent of the soul from the material to the divine, a journey undertaken by only the few. The soul, he taught, must turn inward and upward, shedding the illusions of the sensory world to reunite with the One. This ascent is not merely intellectual but mystical, requiring the purification of desire and the cultivation of spiritual vision. The One is beyond all categories, yet it is the source of all being. To experience it is to transcend the limitations of human thought, and to dwell in the presence of ultimate reality. Plotinus himself was revered as a sage, a living example of the highest philosophical life. His followers saw in him the embodiment of the ideal, a man who had not only studied the truths of existence, but who had lived them. Even in the mystical branches of Abrahamic traditions, we find similar notions of the elite few who attain spiritual realization. In Sufism, the Islamic mystical tradition, the concept of the hidden saints or awliya suggests that there are always a small number of enlightened souls whose presence sustains the world. These individuals may be unknown, even to themselves, but their spiritual purity and closeness to God act as a source of hidden grace. In Christian mysticism, figures like Meister Eckhart and Saint John of the Cross describe a path of inner transformation that leads to union with God. A journey that only the few are willing and able to complete. The Desert Fathers, early Christian ascetics, withdrew from society to confront the demons within, seeking a direct experience of the divine. These were the spiritual elite, not in the sense of exclusivity, but in the sense of radical commitment to truth and transformation. In modern society, the idea of a philosophical or spiritual elite has largely been obscured by materialism, mass culture, and the cult of individualism. The metrics of success have shifted from virtue and wisdom to visibility, consumption, and economic power, yet the ancient ideal persists in hidden corners. There are still those who seek depth over breadth, who value silence over noise, and who pursue excellence not for fame, but for its own sake. These individuals may not be recognized or celebrated, but they carry forward the lineage of the ancient 1%, those who dare to live from the soul rather than the surface. In an age of distraction and superficiality, their presence is a quiet reminder that greatness is still possible, though it demands a price few are willing to pay. Their lives challenge us to reconsider what we value, and to ask ourselves whether we are content to remain among the many or whether we too will strive to join the few.